what's going on? What's going on to all my peoples out there? For everybody that's about to come through. Today we're gonna have a kung fu special. And I got a special guest with me. When it comes to these kung fu pictures and things of that nature. Uh, Glad to bring on my brother Stormy B Man. Stormy B Man, tell them how they could find you and all that good stuff, and we appreciate you and can't wait to start breaking this movie down. Stormy did this movie before, you know, but I'm so glad that he loved it so much that he was able to do it again. So yeah, let the people know what you got going down, Storm.
Man, everybody can follow me right here on YouTube. My channel is Stormy B Man. That's Stormy B Man in all caps, but no cap. You know what I'm saying? Just thought I would I'll put my link for my channel in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
chat
you could. Yeah,
too.
yeah. Please.
You know, that way everybody can come and check out what's happening on the channel. But yeah, man, thank you for asking me to be a part of this, because you know it's what I do, it's what I love, and it you didn't even have to complete the sentence. I was like, yeah, let's do it, you know. And I love that backdrop you put up there with the original poster art from the film. That's pretty tight.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. So today we're gonna be doing a film well before my time, Five Fingers of Death, 1973, Stormy, right? 1973,
72.
72. Sorry,
Yes,
sorry,
sir. 72,
72.
man. King Boxer is a film that it's also known by its original title,
Yes,
produced by the Shaw Brothers Studios. Uh, this movie was quite uh, in Hong Kong. It was not the first kung fu film to show hand-to-hand combat, because there were sword films that were made during that era, and they were very popular. The sword play films were popular simply because coming out of Japan, the Chambara films, which they were referred to as Japanese sword play films,
yes,
they were very, very popular. So Hong Kong was trying to do their rendition of Chambara, which they called it Wu Sha with sword play. And they mimicked a lot of the old fairy tale novels and everything like that.
yes.
But in 1970, Jimmy Wong Yu, who was famous for the One-Armed Swordsman films, he broke out and made a kung fu film which really didn't feature any sword play or anything, and it was called The Chinese Boxer. And it was very popular, very popular. And off the success of that, of course, the studios, what they would do is, like, when they found something successful, everybody's trying to cash in and
Yes.
make the same type of film or whatever, or have the same type of vibe, looking for the same type of revenue. And what came up with King Boxer is this. It was just a run-of-the-mill kung fu film, Hong Kong, by Hong Kong standards, through the Shaw Brothers studio. The production values are nice because Shaw's they were the #1 studio in the Far East. Run Run Shaw had opened up that studio in 1958, and he had a vast acreage of land where he had the studios built. So he had movie houses and everything. He even had dormitories and on-site labs and everything for the films to get processed, everything in-house. He ran it like an old machine, like the old Hollywood studios like MGM from the early 30s and 40s.
Mm-hmm.
That's how he ran his studios. All of his actors and actresses lived on the studio lot. They took classes and everything, and his top directors and writers and everything, and even action choreographers, taught them all how to fight, how to write, how to act. Everything was done in house. Like I said, it was ran like a machine. So when King Boxer came along, it was just another production. But what happened is it was made a part of films that got released in the US
Yes.
during the first Kung Fu film craze.
Mm-hmm.
And this is even before Bruce Lee took off, even though it was made in the
Yeah.
same year that Bruce Lee
Yeah.
made
But this one came
Fury.
out a couple months before.
Bruce Lee's films weren't released before the Shaws, over in
Yeah.
America. So American audiences took to this film like your first time watching The Avengers, and it's like it was just kicking butt at the box office. So of course there were companies that would be distributing the films. And back then you had companies like World Northel or National General Pictures and all of these companies that they're not even around anymore. But they would be releasing these Hong Kong films in and dropping them in the neighborhoods of where blaxploitation would be, prominent. And the films just made money, man. So King Boxer is a classic as a result of its box office.
Yes.
And Lo Lei, who played the lead in the film, he was a noted Shaw Brothers.
Ji Hao. He played.
Yeah, Ji Hao. He was a noted Shaw Brothers actor, but he wasn't even like considered like their top guy. He was just in this film the lead star.
He did a great job.
Well, you know what it is? He was a good actor. Lo Lei didn't know any martial arts. He didn't. So everything he did, he was taught on
from
set.
the choreo. Yeah, from what you were saying.
But as an actor, he was one of the best. That's why he went on and transitioned and became more of a quality villain, because his acting chops depicted him to be someone who could hold any material that the directors and writers would throw at him. Even though in these type of films, your acting was not always what was out front. And that's probably what also hindered him from being the number one guy like a Tai Lung or David Chang, because he didn't know the martial arts for real like that. And then he wasn't the most handsome guy that they would want in a lead role, although that you had a couple of guys who weren't that handsome who became stars, like a guy like Chen Sing. Chen Sing, who, he wore a mustache and kind of a burly built gentleman. They called him like the Chinese Charles Bronson, because in his films, he was rugged, he could fight, he could handle the scenes and stuff. He couldn't kick worth the damn. Chen Sing's kicks were so horrible. He could raise his leg only about 3 feet off the floor. But that's why he mostly
like that.
Mantis Fist or Tiger Style or something was mostly what his thing was, because his kicks were horrible. But I'm just giving a little bit of history on this to let people know that this movie, it stood out and was like, it's really something. And as you reflect back upon it, it's like there are karate films, kung fu films that have been made since that don't hold up to this. This movie is really good.
So let me shout out Shogun 76 and Storm. We're gonna come right back to all that great info that you said, towards, when we get towards the end of breaking this down. So Shang Wu Yang, the father, he's walking, and I think he came from the store, right, Stormy? And then a bunch of goons jump on him. What did you feel? Because I wasn't alive yet. What did you see in that first, and what did you think about in that first sequence, that first scene where he's walking to the store and he gets jumped by these guys?
Well, first of all, you look at it and it's like it's an old man and a group of dudes is jumping out to attack an old man then you find out that the old man can fight. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
yes,
saying? And
yeah.
he start, dealing with him and everything. That's when you know you're in a different type of a film, because we never saw grandpas like that, throwing down. Because I remember they jumped out and attacked him, and he said, "I'm Shemushi. I've never caused no problem to no one." And they was like, "Get him!" It was good. And he started throwing down, and of course, because the gentleman that played that role, he was a little bit older, so some of his scenes were, a stunt man was standing in for
Yeah,
some of the
yeah, I
stuff he
seen
was
that. I
doing,
noticed that.
but it still was showing us that, man, in these kind of movies, the old people can fight too. You know what I'm saying? So immediately you're like settling in your seat, like, man, okay, this is all right. I want to see what's next, And I tell you, uh, the sound effects, that was also something that was totally different, because let's just use John Wayne for example, and his westerns or whatever. When he have a barroom fight and everything, everybody's throwing those wind up roundhouse punches, like, and then when they land, they go like that, like, just a simple sound for like a punch, a slap. In the kung fu films from Shaw Brothers, the sound effects were like, what the hell is that? It's like when you hear it for the first time, it sounds like something you never heard before. And I saw a documentary once that showed the guys in the studio, in the audio rooms, putting soundtracks on the film. And they would have these buttons that they press to make a certain sound. And one of the most famous sounds for that era, because it did change shortly after,
Yes.
when a guy gets punched, it's a thrashing sound, like, it's like it just
Mhm.
makes a different type of audio sound. But also, like, when they would throw somebody, you still would get this hokey sound that was like, and it's like it hypes the action even more. So I think audiences in America really got enamored with that sound effects thing. And even today, and I remarked this, I think when I did my review of this film, I was watching Love Jones. All right. You remember the movie Love Jones with Nia Long and
Yes.
Lawrence Tate?
Yes.
Well, she was having that scene where she was talking to her girlfriend. And her girlfriend, I forget the young lady, Nicole something, Nicole Carson, something. I forget that young lady's name, but forgive me. But she was in the movie. She was playing Nia's friend. And they were talking
I know
back
who
and
you
forth,
talking
talking junk to each other. And she said something to Nia, and then Nia said, "Girl, like acting like she gonna hit her, like, psh.
Yeah, she
But
made
that
the sound
sound she makes, that shit came from kung fu movies." And the funny thing about it was, when I was watching Love Jones in the theater many years ago, whenever it was that it came out, when she said that, I started laughing straight away, because you don't know that unless you know the history and you know that somebody got exposed to watching this kind of stuff. And even now, like if somebody break out into a karate move or something, they make sounds, even though it's like, you move your hands, it's no sound, but you do it because when you watch those movies, somebody do like this and it goes whoosh. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
I mean, I've done it. It's funny that you say that. I remember as a kid when I would be copying Bruce Lee or a lot of characters they base off of Bruce Lee, like even in video games and stuff, like a Fei Long from Street Fighter. That was they definitely,
yeah,
try to make him Bruce Lee or martial law and Tekken.
yeah.
So yeah, I've done it. I remember as a little kid doing that all the time. I remember I had a pajama karate outfit with a black belt. I gotta
Okay.
find the picture. You would laugh. I can't show you that, Stormy, because you would laugh. You would never forgive me for that. And my mom, it was like a
Oh man,
pajama karate outfit. And I remember I was really little, and my mom took a picture of me in it. It's hilarious. But
Dude, listen, I did some silly stuff too. I was a little kid, man. I took one of my mom's old wigs. She didn't even know. I cut it. I got in trouble too, man. I cut the
but you try to be like one of the martial arts dudes in the movie or something.
yeah, I cut her wig in the shape like I was trying to make it like a Chinese dude hairstyle. And I had like one of them little Chinese karate tops, with the buttons and the white cuffs,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know. And I would get in the mirror and I'd be like, yeah, yeah.
You crazy, Storm. You funny. Let me ask you about this next part though, Storm, because we gonna go into nostalgia for real. Uh, uh, Now we get to the next part where like in the village and
Yeah.
Shang Tsung, uh, Ming Tong Shang's son is walking with his gangsters, and you see a guy challenging the fight, the Mongolian fighter, Tao
Mm.
Po, who's played by Bolo Ying. And I didn't even know that was him, Storm.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that that was him. I did not. That's one of the facts I was going to bring up later, but I had to tell you, I didn't recognize him until I watched it the second time. And then I seen the names. I said, that's Bolo.
Yeah,
He was young
man.
as hell. He was young as hell. That's yeah.
Yeah, Bolo. He had on those bright red pants and he had his head shaved completely.
And they did his eyebrows like
Yeah. They
yeah,
called
that's
him a
why I didn't
Mongolian in that film. And
yeah.
understand this about these films too. The Japanese, the Mongolians, uh, and the Qing uh people, they were always played villainous, right? So that's why they would have their eyebrows would be a little heavier arched and
Yeah,
everything, and they
yeah.
would have eye makeup on to make them look like they were real menacing individuals and everything. But see, I come to learn that, as I've got older and look into the history of these films and the conflicts that they were having, because when they say Qings or they say Mings or they say Hans or they say Mongols, I didn't know what that was, so I have to look into it, and I found out, oh, these were suppressors and people who were being victimized by the suppressors through this country's history. You see, now it humanizes it for you more if you take the step of learning these things. And then when you see the films and you see the stories, even when the English dubbing is horrible, because I would always recommend watching the original Kung Fu films with in Chinese with the English subtitles. Even though the English dubs are historical and they're funny sometimes and stuff like that, some things are lost in translation through the dubbing because they know that some American audiences don't care about those people's history and stuff. So they're not going to necessarily put the best foot forward
Yes.
with the explanation of what you're watching. That's why I would recommend watching it with the original subtitles in the original languages, because then you can go. And then like I said, but I learned those things, and seeing guys like Bolo in there, and there was another actor, I'm trying to think, he was in there, Kim Ki-ju. Kim Ki-ju is the guy that you'll see in there where he's playing the role of the he's playing like a Mongolian too, but he's got like part of his head shaved and the
Oh, Chen
ponytail,
Long?
and
The
he's the
guy that
one that
fought the
be
one that he fought?
bashing
Yeah, the
people
one
with
that
his
he
head.
fought. Yeah, the
Yeah,
one that he fought. Okay.
that guy, very very prominent Korean actor who was in the early 70s with Shaw's and later Golden Harvest, playing great films with these guys. But you know what? And I remarked this about him. He was kind of I won't say fat, but he was kind of in that Sammo Hung type body shape dimension, but Sammo was maybe a little heavier than him. but that guy has some of the best kicks. I couldn't believe, and I believe it's probably because he was probably a Taekwondo expert, but he had some of the best kicks during that era in those films. I'm sorry I got a little bit off track with
No,
what I
no,
was
no. You
saying,
good? You good?
but
Oh,
yeah,
salute to Drew Titan. I see you, Drew.
yeah. Salute to Drew out there. Yeah,
Um, but definitely, I liked his style, Storm, with the head button and stuff like that. I mean, you didn't really go off track because that was the part that he first get introduced anyway. After
right,
uh
right.
Paul, the Mongolian fighter, beats the dude that puts in his money, uh the dude that Stormy's talking about who plays Chen Long, he challenges him, beats him up and wins the money. Then you see Chin Soon, this guy right here. Let me pull up the picture. I think I got the picture.
Hmm.
Where is it? Where is he? Here he is. I liked him. He thought he was bad, smoking his little cigarette. Think he was running the town, but yeah, he comes in and steps in right after these two get done fighting.
Yeah. Now see the guy. Okay, like these two guys you got on screen now. That's Bolo with
Yep,
the shirt off, and
yep,
that's Kim Ki Chu on there, or which he played, like I said, the Mongol who was doing the headbutting to people and everything. But yeah, these two uh they have a pretty good fight there. And he uses that head against Bolo's, brawny strongman type, you know. And understand this too, through the Chinese history, they were always thought of by outsiders as weak people or not those who could man up or whatever. So the Mongols, like Bolo's playing there, they would come in these villages and put on these exhibitions of strength and vigor to be intimidating forces and elements. And they would try to impose themselves on the people of the provinces and stuff. But unless they ran across someone who had great study in martial arts, whether it was the Shaolin Temple, Wu Tang, or even some of the other passed down arts that could come in and defend those guys. That's another reason why this film is like one of the best tournament films, because it's showing different factions of kung fu facing off against each other. But a lot of the films from this era would depict the bad guys setting up stages in a province where they're daring the villagers to come and challenge the champion on the stage, where they could exercise their strength and dominance over a community of people that may not have fought. You might have blacksmiths who are making things, you might have tailors, you might have cooks or whatever, and they weren't real fighters, but they would try to come in and fight, and they
yeah,
would get beaten up.
yeah,
So the rumor would get around like, oh, these people are nothing. But the truth would have it is like most of the real prominent martial artists and everything held themselves in reserve. They didn't want to display their martial arts or whatever because they were usually rebelling against the government. You know what I'm saying? And the government wanted to take them out.
that that definitely you kind of seen that reserve in Chow Chi Hao in this
Yeah.
movie. You know, salute to 78. Salute to my brother 78, the OG, the general. Thanks for stopping through. He said this is one of his favorite movies. Uh
Salute,
so
General.
now Chen Long he gets hired. He gets hired by Meng Tung Shung, and even though he was going to come to blows with his son Chen Soon, um, he decides to befriend him and have him work for him.
Yeah.
So Storm, Me personally, I like the storytelling of this. You know, I like the idea of it. What did you feel about that part right there?
Well, it just shows that, like,
And do you know the dude that played the father? I feel like I seen him in other old kung fu films because he
yeah,
always plays a good bad
that's Tien Fing.
guy.
Tien
Okay,
Fing, he always played he always played a fraternal type role. He was even in Bruce Lee's Fist of Fury, where he played the number one student and teacher after the real master died, the one that Bruce Lee came back to
yeah,
avenge. He played the senior head of the school in Fist of Fury. So yeah, Paul Tin Fing is a guy, he was noted throughout the 70s and 80s as a prominent actor in kung fu films, sometimes playing a villain, a lot of times playing good guys. This film, he was a villain, and I felt like him wanting to get Kim Ji-koo on his side. They were just trying to load up talented elements of fighters to be able to put down the Shinwoo school. You
yep,
know, that's
yep,
what they were trying to do. And when I saw that, I was like, I knew the guy, doing the headbutts, Kim. I knew he didn't know, but he was looking for work, and that's why he told him, he was like, I'm ready to do anything you say.
yeah, yep,
Like, he was humbling himself because he was a traveler. He was passing through, and somebody's
mhm,
offering him an opportunity to work, and he's like, okay, he don't know the guys are good or bad. He
yeah,
found out.
yeah,
He
fact.
found out, and then the story goes on from there. But I tell you, uh, lining up these guys, because you could tell that Paul Ting, being the headmaster, you knew he could fight too, but his son being a jerk, which I was gonna say, you had the picture of him up there a moment ago.
Oh,
The
hold on,
son,
Chin Soon.
yeah, he he was like a spoiled brat. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Yo, yo, but Storm, he can scrap a little bit though.
yeah, he
We
could
gonna get
scrap,
into
but
that. Yeah.
he was like a ruthless dude too. You know what I'm saying? And he 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 knew his dad had his back and everything, and he would kind of like throw his weight around, so to speak. So it was good that what happened to him happened to him too.
Storm stupid. All right, so and my fault. There was a part that I missed in the beginning. Chi Hao, his sensei wants him to
To
go
go
to,
and study at the other school.
yes, he wants him to go study at another school. That's an important part that Shang
And
Shinpei,
he don't want to go. He's
and he
like,
don't want to go
but
because
you're
of
the
Yin
one that
Yang.
brought me up, teacher. He's like, you just want to stay here with Yin
Yin
Yang.
Yang. Storm, I can't say nothing, man. I probably would have been in the same boat.
Dude, he didn't want to leave Yin Yang.
He said, "Now don't be selfish." He said, "But sir, could you please reconsider?" Oh man.
And Yin Yang over there sewing like she not listening, but she's like,
She man, she cried. You remember when dad left the room? She started
yeah,
crying.
yeah.
She
She's
said,
like,
he
you
said,
ain't
Foul
gonna be
Ming
able
couldn't
to.
prove that much. Cause
Yeah,
remember they
she's
sparred.
like, he don't know you've been clapping my cheeks every night.
Oh,
And
he know. He oh, he know. He knew that. That's why he said what he said, Storm. You just don't want to leave Yin Yang. And I bet that one day you two would marry. He knew. He knew what was going on.
man.
But he's on his way to the school or whatever. And then another girl, Yin Chi Hung, he saves her from the same thugs that confronted his master. when she was
Yeah.
singing and offers him a ride because they're going in the same direction.
Yeah.
So now he gets to the school. This is the good part. I want to skip past all that fairy tale part, Snow, and I want to ask you about that part. Now he gets there, Chi How, he gets there, and how long the student he already didn't like him, Stormy. He already picked out the top student there, and he did a great job. He was a great actor too. When the master Shang Shinpei told him to test Chi Hao out.
Yeah, that's James Nam. James Nam
No,
is a
great,
yeah, he
great.
always plays a good bad guy too, you know. And in this film, he was always messing with Chi Hao, but let me show you a few tricks.
Yeah,
You
I
know.
heard somebody use that in the sample, and it might have been Wu Tang. It might have been Wu Tang that used that. Let me show you a few tricks.
Dude, I tell you,
He whooped him, no Storm. He whooped him.
yeah,
He
he
whooped him.
whooped him. Yeah. And the
I think
teacher
he kind
told
of
him he
held back.
wasn't good enough to join the classes. You can do some menial work around here, clean the kitchens and mop the
Yes.
floors and
Yep, that
stuff.
was the
And
next part. Yep.
mm-hmm.
And he took that stuff. I gotta give him a lot of credit, man, because Chi Hao, he took that. He said, since it's too far for you to travel, you got to do some dish work. And I think that right there was symbolic, Storm. It was testing him more mentally than physically. You
Well,
know,
yeah,
and,
it's
and
just like when Mr. Miyagi had Daniel painting fences and all of this other stuff. And Daniel was like, oh man, I wanted to learn some karate, you know, but it's like you're testing the resolve of the individual, you're testing their character and their temperament and things of that nature. And when they give you enough of where you feel confident as the teacher or the sifu, then you can start opening up the wing to start to gain some of the knowledge of what you have to share with them. But you know, if they're not going to be able to pass those type of trials first, then it's a lost cause.
it almost was like strength in the mind, so the body could kind of follow suit. Where everything, because you see, as he was working during the house, he would like test them. You see, Shang Shinpei would throw things at him, and at first he didn't get it. His reflexes wasn't there, and then you seen as it gradually picked up, he threw something at, and then he was just he said, "You know what? You haven't complained once." And he said, "You now I'm gonna enroll you in my classes, basically." And he
Yeah.
got enrolled in the classes, and then uh how long he still was hating on him, of course. And you see, as he was giving the instructions, he still gave Chi Hao a hard time.
Mhm.
He gave him a really hard time. And remember, later that night, he comes to him and he gives him and tells him to go to the bar and get him some wine.
Mhm.
Tells him to go get him some wine. And he runs into the gangsters again at the bar, but this time they have Chen Long with them. So, what did you think about that scene when he poured the wine on him and he didn't fight at that time? And what did you think of all of that stuff? That scene right there, was that a favorite scene or of yours?
No, it's not a favorite scene, but it's just it's setting up two things to the villainy of the bad guys, that they will go through no depths or lengths to smash people or bully them and everything. And then it shows how Chi Hao, his temperament, even in his studies, held him in reserve. And even though they were trying to pick the fight with him, you know, he knew that he represents the school. He's not supposed to fight like that and everything. And so when the other guy who from the school witnessed that and he goes back and tells the head
Oh, duet.
student, James Nam, he tells him, man, he didn't even do nothing. They picked a fight with him and everything, called him a chump and this and that, and he
Yup.
wouldn't even do nothing. We can't count on him,
Yup.
to help us, And of course,
Yup.
that's all James Nam needed to hear, because he didn't like him anyway. He was like, yeah. But hey, man, it was
That's no good for our
it was a
reputation.
necessary scene to set up things to show you the factions of conflict within what was happening throughout the entire film, the dynamics.
Yes, sir. So now Chen Long, he goes to the school, and first thing he does is he takes they sign down and breaks it with his forehead. He always using that his head, you know what I mean? And starts attacking the students there, uh beats up the top students there.
When he threw that one dude through the roof, I was dying, man. I was like, that scene
I
right
would have
there.
loved that. If I was around back then, I know I would have loved that.
He threw the dude through the roof. His head went through the ceiling. I was like, man, what's going on? But yeah.
And then you see when Shang Shinpei came out, old dude again went to work on the younger guy. And as he was getting ready to walk away, he called his name, and see how he suck. I can't say a sucker punch.
Yeah, that's what it was.
A sucker headbutt.
He gave him a Katie Taylor special, man.
Well, basically.
Yeah.
Basically.
He was like, Shang-Chi Pei. Dude turned around. He was like,
and then they said, yeah, we heard. And then you see how they knocked Chi Hao. He said, yeah, we heard you didn't even do nothing. This is that and the third. And he walked away, and he was upset about that, man. He was upset about that. So he went back to the bar store.
Yeah.
Beat the guy up. Chi Hao beat up Chi Long up, and then everybody ran back to the school and heard about it. While Chang Shinpei had his little band on his head, because I guess that was a serious headbutt right there.
Hey, you saw how Amanda Serrano looked, right? I'm telling you, man. There's lessons to be learned in this stuff.
Hey, you see, he didn't like when he got headbutted back. You see when Chi Hao headbutted him back, he ain't like that.
He was like, he had that look on his face, like, what happened? And then when Chi Hao kicked his butt and he was knocked out, he was laid out on the floor. And when they took him back to the boss, I lost the fight. I'm sorry.
He didn't even want to look at the dude. He said, it's all right. You a guest in our house. You know what I mean? You shouldn't have had to be involved in this. They had him on the spittle and everything, bringing him back over there. That don't make no sense. And then he said,
out here bullying people, and then when he get bullied back, he can't take it.
He couldn't take it. So they asked for Chi Hao. He go back and see Shang Shinpei, and he said, you're forbidden to fight. He was trying not to, but they came in disrespectful.
Right.
He said, you a level-headed dude. So he said, I'm gonna teach you the Iron Fist technique. And handed him the manual. What'd you think about that and his training? And that was one of the films where I seen somebody actually work on just their hands. Like, you seen him. I don't know what that was supposed to be. What was that supposed to be in that pot that he was using? Storm?
That was a hot cauldron of, they use sand and certain types of a rock or gravel. And it is true that you can build your hands' strength up in those heated cauldrons But it doesn't happen instantaneously, but you can develop it's almost like putting your hands in a brine or whatever, but yeah, it's something. And he, you know, he was working at that. But see, Chi Hao had shown the temperament that the teacher understood that he could pass that deadly skill on to him because he recognized that he's not going to abuse it. See, his number one student would have been an abuser of that.
Hang Long, yeah.
Yeah, he would have been an abuser because he was a bully. He had the same mentality that the Tian Ping's son had. They had the same mentality.
Yeah.
But he wasn't as good at, or as shiesty or crafty as Tian Ping's son, and that's why what ended up happening to him happened to him.
So now we back, and now because Chang Long lost, and they learned that Chi Hao's learning the iron fist technique. You know, they panicking over there.
He even went to Chi Hao and tried to make Chi Hao show him the, you know, show me what the teacher is teaching you. You know, he tried to start a fight with his own brothers from the school. You know,
yeah. He never liked him. He didn't like him the moment he came in there. He must have sensed something.
And see how Chi Hao didn't want to fight him and everything, showing that reserve. And the teacher was watching the whole.
Yep.
Remember that?
Yep. I like that part. I like that part. That showed that he picked the right man.
Exactly.
That he picked the right man. He picked the perfect person to pass that technique on to. And things got so bad, and it got back to Chen Sun and his dad, that his dad had to call in Japanese Mr. Okada, you know, and two other gentlemen, Mr. Taro and Sheng Yumang, I believe that's how you pronounce it. And yeah, he sent in for those guys to try to stop the rival school. Stormy, they was desperate. It was like a desperation attempt to win the tournament. I'm just noticed it's crazy. It's like the person that won the tournament was going to win the world. You know, that's how they almost made it seem. So now I guess Due is walking home now, and we first get to see Okada in action. And we see how the Japanese fighters fight. What did you think of that scene when he kicked the tree? Storm, I loved when he kicked that tree, even though he missed. That was a nice little flying kick. I wish I could do that in real life.
Well, it was showing their power, and it was also showing that they were exhibiting a kind of fierceness that we hadn't seen in the rest of the film up to that part. Because it's like, man, this guy, you know, these guys, rather the Japanese, they're fearsome. We seen the Kung Fu guys, they do their thing, but it's like they don't have that same type of intensity that these villainous Japanese have, you know?
Yes, sir. So then we go to the bar again, and Yang Chi Hong, she's singing again, and How Long is over there, and he finds out that she knows Chi Hao, and he gets jealous again. And after he leaves, he runs into Okada and the rest of the Japanese guys that are with him, and rather than pick a fight, he chose to sell out.
Yeah, man.
To the rival school.
Yeah, I saw his the coonery that came out in that moment. He looked around at all those guys and he was like, "Wait, I need to talk to your boss."
He was like, "Nah, I ain't going out like that," because you know what was gonna happen to him.
Yeah,
He was gonna end up on that stretcher getting brought back, like they did
like
Dewey.
old
He didn't want
boy.
to, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, he didn't want no smoke. He said, "Let me talk to you." He's teaching
And
him
I'm gonna tell
the
you something about that right there.
hmm
Why what ends up happening, we'll get to it, what ends up happening to him. But see, Tien Fing, being as ruthless as he was, he still understood that loyalty and everything means something.
Yes,
You know,
yes,
that's
yes.
why even though they let him start, coming into their graces, they didn't never trust his ass.
Yeah, I
Because
noticed
like
that they always kept him.
if you do that to your own people, what would you do to
You do
us that
the
we ain't
exact
even, your people, right?
fact. That's a fact. So, salute Shade Girl, salute. Appreciate you stopping through. Derek Gaines, sorry if I missed you, brother. Salute, bro. Um, yeah. So basically, he writes how long writes a fake letter saying that it was Yin Chi Hong, the singer, saying that she needs him to meet up with him somewhere. And what ends up happening is Mr. Okatado and his goons, they jump him. They jump my boy Chi Hao for no reason. Good dude. And they break his hands. But it's a deeper message in that part. They didn't only break his hands, they broke his spirit too. I think his spirit was more damaged than his actual hands were. And they broke his hands so that he could never use the iron fist technique. That was the whole that couldn't happen. That could not happen. That was their main thing. That has to be stopped at all costs. What did you think about that scene right there, Stormy? Was it
Dude,
cringe
for the
worthy?
time that the film came out when I was a kid watching that, man, that was gruesome, man. That was gruesome. You never saw them strike his hands. You saw the guys rearing back and swinging. You saw him reacting like, oh, and then you
Yeah,
saw a
yeah.
full shot of them getting ready to do this. And then they the way that was edited, you know what was happening, but they never showed you. And then
I
you would
like
see
that.
his,
I like that mystery. I like that.
yeah. But see, I'm gonna tell you something, and I've talked to my brother Drew Titan about this. That was when they understood that you could present us with, meaning us, the audience, you could present us with something terrible, but don't go all the way showing us. Leave just a little bit back so that I can conceptualize your message that you're trying to convey to me. Because guess what? The way I perceive it, the way you perceive it, the way he perceives it, the way she perceives it is all going to be different. And that's your mind taking you someplace because you didn't actually see it happen, but you could witness what's being told or showed or foretold. And the way you receive it makes it worse than if you just showed me. Because you show me that once, you show me a second time, you show me something a little worse, I become desensitized to it. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
But when there's a cutoff point, when you put that little screen up there and cut away to something else, and then your mind is thinking like, man, I wonder what really happened. Man, I wonder. You see what I'm saying? It goes into that type of thing. That's why Hitchcock was so good with, the thrillers that he would present to the audiences and everything, because they just stopped just short of showing you the bad stuff in its completed form, that you become like, wow, enough is enough. You know what I mean? And
Yes,
and
sir.
and and that's what I wanted to say about that particular scene right there.
So now Stormy, the singer Yin Chi Hong, she just so happened mysteriously to find Chi Hao on the floor with his hands broken. And she helps him out. She nurses him back to health. she takes him back, and she's goes out for medicine, and How Long spots her and asks her where she's going, because he knows that she has feelings for Chihao. Uh, his brother from the gym, Tao Ming, is watching, and he throws an egg at How Long's face, and she gets back to the house, and you see her working on his hands and things like that. My question to you, Stormy, in that part right there, when she gets back to the house and puts the medicine on his hands, is I feel like she wanted him to stay hurt, because she wanted to keep him there. That's what I got from it. He also needed to get nursed back to health, but I felt like his spirit was so broken, and he took the loss at the same time, that he wasn't psychologically ready to go back. And he only had a limited time until the tournament anyway. So how did you perceive that part? How did you perceive when she's putting the medicine and stuff on his hand, and he's getting nursed back?
Well, no, she wanted him with her selfishly. She wanted him with her selfishly, and she thought that his vulnerabilities in this moment would be her opportunity. But his character and resolve wouldn't allow him to consider her, because he still felt for Yin Yang.
Yes,
But
yes.
at the same time, there was consistency in that, because when his fellow brother and student came
Yeah, Tao Ming, yup.
to remind him
Yes,
what he really needs to do, it
sir.
wasn't a difficult thing for him to do, because of his character. The one thing, the one thing that was shown throughout this film was that Lo Lei's character Chao Shi Hao was a man of virtue, and he stood on his principle. Even in his darkest moment of what they had done to him, he found a way to battle through that. But also, it wasn't phony, because he had already began the training of the iron palm, so his hands weren't as vulnerable as they may have been had he never trained for the iron palm.
True.
He
That's a
was
good point.
able to
That's
come
a,
back,
that's a
and
good
came
point.
back even stronger as a result, because he had the foundation there, and he had the work ethic and everything. So there were a lot of dimensions there. Like I said, see, you asked me a question I wasn't expecting you to ask, but it gives me a chance to speak about the film on a different plane. These films are very simple, high in action, low in script, and even acting performances to some degree. But when you unfold and you peel back the layers of this onion, and you recognize you can find something there that made it a prominent film for the time that it was made, and you root for the hero, because there are elements of the story there that are familiar and hopeful. When you look at it as a hopeful thing, I want to see him succeed. I want to see him overcome.
That actually was one of my, it's not my favorite scene, Storm, when Tao Ming, his friend from his original school, comes and finds him, and he's like in that place to where, like I said, his spirit is broken. Not only is his hands, but his spirit is also broken. And I love, like you said, how he gave him that prep talk. It reminded him of the mission, and how those wounds are nothing. If you determine, you could come back from that. Salute to KG, the good doctor. Salute, brother. Thanks for coming through. So yeah, I definitely agree with you wholeheartedly on that. And thanks for answering that question too, Storm. So at now, Okatado and the Japanese brothers, they go visit his old teacher, Yin Ying's dad. And This is a question I gotta ask you. I'm glad we at this part because I wanted to ask you. What was you see how they didn't kill Dewey? Why kill his old master? Why kill Chi Hao's master? You broke the man's hands. Why go over there and kill him? You know,
because
yeah, go ahead.
because Yin Yin's dad was the type of man that can churn out fighters like Chi Hao.
Mm, okay.
He
I didn't
wasn't
know that.
talented as uh, the master of the Xing Wu school. He wasn't as talented as him, but look at what he was doing with the character. Because remember when he said he sent old boy who he fought at the beginning of the
Yeah,
film,
Tao
the
Ming.
other student who went ahead and preceded him, he was like, "You were even a better student than him." When Ching Shi Wei said he needed some students, I sent him because I was too selfish to hold you back because I wanted you here with me. But look at if he could do in the short time with him, I know you can succeed and be even better. So basically, he was a he was a purveyor of he understood talent and character in people. And if you looked when he was training those kids, when
Yes,
Chachi Hao had wrote them a letter,
yes,
and he
yes.
sat down and had Yin Yin read the letter to him, those were little boys that he was training. They were nowhere near the age of Chao Shi Hao or any of the other students. So he was turning out quality people.
That's a good point.
And the villains wanted to stomp that out. Character based men, men of resolve and everything, they're always going to be fighting against the bullies for the lesser or weaker people. They're going to take charge and going to try to make things right when things are wrong. So if you cut off the head of the snake, then that ceases, right? So that's why they went back to take out the teacher. That's why.
Hmm. A good answer. Damn good answer, Storm. Cause I'm thinking the whole time, I'm
You
like,
thought it was unnecessary, right?
but you know what you said, it makes complete sense. It makes complete sense. If you could produce somebody like Chi Hao, he's bound to get another one before his time is up. So yeah, great answer. Great answer. So now Chi Hao bounces back, he gets his bearings back, and now they're at that point where they're selecting who's going to represent them in the tournament.
Oh,
Um,
and before you go further, let me say this to
yeah,
tie things together. You see how I said that about breaking that down, about going and eliminated the teacher and the character and stuff like that.
yes, sir.
Do you not remember and recall me, if ever, when you watch my content, when I talk about character of fighters and everything, is that
Yes,
not consistent?
yeah, yep,
See, because it means something when a man has character to build something from within and a foundation to build upon. That's very important for people who are kind of loosey goosey all over the place. They don't really have anything to stand on, but they can say something in the moment or this or that. But that only carry you so far. You will need a foundation, a platform of that which is most representing your resolve, who you are as an individual and everything. And if that is fragmented or it's nebulous, it's like, okay, when the going really gets tough, you're gonna fall apart.
yes, sir.
So I just wanted to say that to add in because I wanted to associate. We're talking about this film, we're talking about the characters in the movie, but now I'm talking about life too. That's why I was able to come to that, you know, place and make that type of explanation.
Yes, sir. And like I said, great. And like I said, what you said made complete sense. So now, How Long and Chi Hao are fighting for the spot. Chi Hao wins, and he was gonna represent the school. Now, How Long runs back to Chen Soon's dad and the other guys. And this is probably the Storm. I'm gonna be honest with you. We get into my favorite part. This is my favorite part.
Now that might be my favorite part. You asked me earlier what some other scenes my favorite, but this might be my favorite scene.
He said you forgot what being a real fighter is. He said I got a few gentlemen that it could explain it to him, and then Shin Soon, his son, explains who they are, Mr. Okatada, karate expert, as well as Misatato.
And you know, did you notice, like before everything went down, how my man, what's his name, Chen Lang, how he was looking and he kind of put his head down.
Yeah.
He
Chen
knew
Lang,
what was getting ready to come, right?
Yo, he was like, Storm, you ain't lying right there, bro. When I first watched that movie as a teenager, because my mom, I still got the DVD somewhere in her stuff.
Yeah.
When I watched it, I didn't know what was going to happen. So he was like, he told Mr. Okatada to fight. No. One of his guys, Misatato, that dude, the other karate expert, and Sayu Mong, the other guy, was a judo expert. So he fights those two. You put 3 dudes on him already, and then he got to fight Shin Soon. And then we finally get to see what the spoiled brat is working with. And you know what? He could scrap a little bit for a spoiled brat. That's what I'm talking about. If you're gonna be spoiled, teach them some defense. Teach him something.
You found out why he carried those balls.
Yup.
Those exercise balls.
Yeah.
That because those, people used to, here in the US, we used to have remember the hand.
Yeah, I got one. Yeah. Hand strength.
But those were like what you may not know because you're watching it on film. Those things are heavy. They're heavy. So when you're swirling around, those are exercise balls. It's to strengthen your fingers and everything. That's exactly what that is.
So when he picked him up, threw him on the ground, and then poked his eyes out. That Storm, I ain't gonna lie, that was my favorite part. He said, "Oh, my eyes, you bastard." I'm trying not to get the children's channel, but
yeah. But hey, you know what? He gave him exactly what was coming to him because he didn't need his eyes because he couldn't see. He couldn't see life like Chow Si Hao could see life. He couldn't see like his teacher could see, but he was still the head student of Xingwu class, but he was horrible and he made horrible decisions. He did horrible against his fellow students, and he was a horrible representation of Xingwu. So guess what? He got what comes with all of that. He got it all.
So the guy ended up losing his eyes. And it's kind of funny because when that happened to him and he said we could get him, while he's gonna be doing this, we could catch him right here. And then that happened to him after that. I guess he was expecting them to go along with it and stop him. You know what I mean? But I'm glad that I like how that was well written, Storm. I thought that.
Yeah, they got rid of him too, the turncoat, because remember, they go on his suggestion, right? And leave him alive. He might break down and tell the teacher honestly what happened. In a moment of weakness, teacher, I I decided to tell those guys where Chao Shihao was going, and they jumped, they ambushed him or whatever. You know what I mean? Or even try to run and build some kind of sentiment up against the bad guys to try to take them down. Remember, you have no loyalty. And that means a lot in the Chinese culture. It don't mean so much in our culture over here. It's like, you know that. But
Yeah,
in
yeah.
their culture, that really means something. So Tian Fing was like, man, you know what? We got to get rid of this dude. And they did it in an excellent way, because the way they ended up taking down Chao Shihao is like, you know, it's like they did it because they used the information out of him, but they also killed the messenger.
Yes. So, and it's crazy because we see a different dynamic. It was like he went over to their side, and then Chen Lang, him seeing that, it moved him away.
To a
And
more correct way of
yeah,
seeing life.
and
Yeah.
it gets to a point to where Chao Shi Hao's getting ready to go to the tournament, and he warns him that
Yeah.
Okada is over there with the other Japanese brothers, and they're planning to ambush him so that he doesn't make it to the tournament. So he gave him like two blades or whatever. How did you feel about that scene right there, Stormy, when he end up coming across the Japanese brothers, and he has to tangle with them? Well, he
Well,
had,
Chen Long, I thought that was a redemption moment for him, but still, since he has aligned himself with villainy, he still had a penalty to pay. And Chi Hao, when he, saw him, he could have been judgmental and not listened to him. But it goes back to his character. He said, there is some decency in you after all.
yeah, yup, he did say that, yup.
See? Consistency. That means something. So he took the blades that Chenlong left him and everything, and he needed them.
Yeah, he did. He sure did.
He needed them. And then he went on and he, so I thought it was, again, what's interesting, at the way you're, talking about reviewing this film and everything, is it's giving me a chance to be very consistent in the layers of what's there on this film that isn't spoken, but if you analyze it and you break it down like what we're doing here, you can see that, oh, there's a lot more to this than meets the eye.
Like you just
And
said, when he got his
that's
eyes
pretty
poked
good.
out, he was
Yeah,
already blind anyway, but you was speaking more of a metaphoric,
exactly,
you
exactly,
know. But then he
exactly.
lost him physically.
Yeah, but he
So
didn't lose his life.
he didn't. That's true. That's true.
Well, later he did,
Well, we
later.
we coming to
But
that. We
yeah,
almost
yeah,
there.
yeah. I don't mean to spoil. Yeah.
Nah, we almost there. Don't worry. We got just a couple. So now, before he gets to battle Mr. Ogatada, Chen Lang, he ends up fighting for him so that he can make it to the tournament because he's already late. They're already saying that they're going to be disqualified if he doesn't make it at a certain time. And Chi Hao makes it right on time at the tournament. He ends up beating Chen Soon, and the Shang Wu school ends up winning, and he becomes the champion. So while they celebrating and lifting Chi Hao in the air, Storm, why he do that to Shang Shinpei? Why he stab? Why he stab him like that? How'd you feel about that part? Yo, man, that
Well,
always messed
it
me up.
showed the villainy of him. It showed the villainy of him, and the fact
Such
that
a good bad guy. He should have.
his ruthlessness took him to no end. And you know, he needs to be stopped. This is it's like because there's no happy medium. It's always going to be a problem with this guy. And you know, Chao Shi Hao's teacher kind of understood that, but still had his guard down.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, still had his guard down.
And then it was
And it was
crazy.
also what he didn't know. He There was no way him to have knowledge or any lead in to the fact that this guy had hired Japanese villains to help them. They were looking to take people out in the tournament, you know, and stuff. It's like they were doing a lot of dirt on their side that he just wasn't privy to, meaning the Xingwu teacher. He didn't know all of that stuff. When you kind of have that information, you know who your opponent is. He didn't have access to any of that.
Um, you see how they broke away and they was like, "Where's teacher? Where's teacher?" And then everybody like breaks away. I thought that that was a good shot right there. And then the
Yeah,
teacher
when
is
they
like,
parted, and then
he
you could
got his
see him,
back
and
to
he was like,
everybody. Uh, I mean, it's not funny, but it's only a
no,
movie.
it was a real, because you know what, you can be surrounded by people but still be all alone, and that's what he was. He was left very vulnerable in a situation, though he was surrounded by people and some people who loved him, but it was like he still lost his life under those circumstances. And then that's when Yin Yang let Chao Shi Hao know that, you
Yeah,
know,
the
they
teacher.
had taken her dad down.
And in that scene with the dad, the sound effects and the blood squirting.
Man.
Oh man, it was kind of ahead of his time. It was kind of ahead of his time. Um, so now we get back to how long, and um Yin Chi Hong, she pretty much finds out that nothing's happening between her and Chi Hao. So she's like roaming near the street, and then she sees how long, and they end up going back to Chin Soon and his dad's apartment. They cut off the lights. Storm. And she's like I said, when I first watched the movie, I'm like, how is he able to like maneuver? But then they show her saying left. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, so she helped Salute Demon. She helped him out because he couldn't see. He got his eyes poked out. He poked out Chin Soon's eyes the same way his eyes got
Oh,
poked out.
I can't see nothing now.
And it got so bad that the dad couldn't see anything. He ends up killing Chin Soon, stabs him by accident, thinking that is how long. And basically, they give up on trying to fight him. They try to walk out the door, and how long tries to leave, and he gets stabbed. And Yen Chin Hung, she's not spared. Yo, he was a bad dude, man. He was a bad dude. He didn't put
I said
yo.
that.
He took her out.
I said that.
He played no games on word, my son. All right, I got something for you. So it was pretty much a wrap for her. They both lost their lives. And once he seen Chi Hao coming there, he knew it was over. So he committed uh suicide, and it thought that was the best option for himself. Uh
Mhm.
how did you feel about that part, Storm? That whole sequence right there.
No, I was like, in a way, you were glad for the son getting his, but you had to see that the way that what's his name, Han Lung had drawn everybody into some crap, even including the girl. Uh, it wasn't going to end good, you know, for anybody. And it was kind of tough, but now you set up uh the revenge factor for Chao Shi Hao. Now you set it up for a reason for him to have to use the invincible iron palm because we hadn't seen it
Yeah,
up to this
we
point.
did. You're right. We didn't. And he basically deals with everybody that's in the house. But as he's getting to leave with Yin Yin and Tao Ming, they run into Okadata, and he's back with Long's head.
Literally.
That was pretty, like, literally had his head. So now we get the final showdown, and he must have knew he was a threat. Cause I never seen him use the sword until Chi. I never seen him use the sword, but you see Mr. Okada, he came with that katana.
But he knew he was a threat because he still went into the tournament even after they did what they did to him. And now he's, you know, facing him and he looks to be back, you know. And remember when they were fighting in the forest earlier, he was still holding his own until they cheated him, you know what I'm saying? And he didn't have his cronies to cheat with him anymore. So, and Tien Fing was possibly dead as well. So it's like now, um, you know, I'm no games. I'm just gonna take this guy out. Let me pull out my katana.
And he had a little bit of success with it, but them iron palms, I mean that iron fist was no joke. You see how he had it like that, and then he like kind of like broke it off.
Well,
And
there was a scene where um Okatana, he was standing behind that post, and then you know
yeah, I
Chelsea
like
Howell,
that part.
he
And,
did this, and
yeah,
he punched him through that beam.
and he said,
He punched his palm through that beam and still hit him. I thought that was a pretty cool scene right
Yeah,
there.
that was," and then he did. That's how I know it was hurting, because he did. That was the first time you ever seen him hurt.
Right.
That's the first time you ever see. It was like the Russian in Rocky 4. He's hurt. He's cut. That's how I
Yeah.
kind of felt about that scene, because I'm like, dang, man. Like, you never seen him hurt. Salute, Queen 71. Appreciate you coming through. So basically he ends up winning, and everything. I guess he heads back. We really don't know what happens after that. We only could get an idea what happens after that. But Chihao avenges his master, and I guess he heads back in town. This was a great movie, Storm. This was a
Yeah,
great, for
of
an old
course.
school movie, for something way ahead of way before me, way before me. This is definitely a good
I
movie.
have this. My favorite kung fu film is Bruce Lee and Fist of Fury, and it's not his best film, but why it's my favorite is because that was his one film that he was able to make in his short martial art film career, where he was amongst the element of what it was back then. And he was head and shoulders above everybody who was doing what they were doing back then in 1972. And this film is my companion piece to that. I've always said that when I watch them, I like to watch them back to back or one in front of the other, because from that era of 1972, this was a height of hand to hand combat kung fu films out of Hong Kong. And Five Fingers of Death and Lolay's performance for a man who wasn't a real martial artist is high. It's a highly regarded, well-made film, and I really enjoyed, these two films, Fist of Fury and that. And there was a point in time when Fist of Fury was in production. It was called The Intercepting Fist, uh, based on a loosely based of Bruce Lee's explanation of Jeet Kune Do. So it's like it finally ended up being called Fist of Fury, and there was also a working title for it called the King of the Boxers, which that title went to a different film during that era. But just a little trivia and history. And the Fist of Fury that the film is titled is based on the teacher of Bruce Lee's character Cheng Cheng in their Ho Young Chow, or Fok Young Gap, as he's known in the Jet Li film Fearless. Um, he taught what was called the Wa Fist, or the Ho Young Chow Fist. It was a special fist style that was performed, and he could kill with a blow, similar to the Iron Fist in
Yes.
Five Fingers of Death. So the way it was depicted in Fist of Fury, when Bruce Lee is fighting the Russian guy at the end of the film, near the climax, when he started waving his hands like this, and his hands started going in sequence, and you could see like
Yeah.
multiple hands and stuff,
Mhm.
that was him beginning to use that style. See, it was a moment in cinematic history where they changed something that you just didn't know what was happening there. But the explanation is that was him using that special Wa Fist style against the Russian because he was so strong. And he was a European man. He was a bigger man, stronger man. They depicted his strength earlier in the school when he was in there showing off his stuff against the Japanese students. So just a little bit of trivia for you there to let you know that that's what's, and so these two films are like companion pieces to me, even though one is from Shaw Brothers and the other is from Golden Harvest. I equate them as like companion piece films that I always said. If somebody say Fist of Fury is my favorite film. If you're on a desert island and you can only watch one movie over and over and again, it'll be Fist of Fury for me. If I was able to have a list of them, definitely King Boxer, Five Fingers of Death would be in that, because I enjoy
D-Man
it
said
that
Fist of
much.
Fury is my favorite too. So D-Man's over there agreeing.
Well, he can.
You know what? I
I
think I'm
never
gonna
heard of
watch
Fist of Fury, but if he learned to spell, coming around the D-Man's channel where the sensei can break it down to him. Yeah. So I don't know what movie that is D-Man talking about, but maybe he can, bring out the DVD and show it to us sometime.
I knew what you was trying to say.
Yeah, I know what he was trying to say too, but you don't run around here saying Tyson Fury, do you? Huh? Come on, man. F plus, get to the back of the class.
Oh man, oh man. The English dub version was released by Warner Brothers. It seemed like Warner Brothers have their hand in just about everything.
Well, they had initial deal with Shaw Brothers for
Oh,
their
okay.
films coming over, because check this out. That film, Five Fingers of Death, Seven Blows of the Dragon, Sacred Knives of Vengeance, and The Duel, which was Duel of the Iron Fist. Those three films, along with Five Fingers of Death, were some of the first Shaw Brothers films that Warner Brothers released to U.S. audiences. They even actually redubbed Seven Blows of the Dragon and gave it a nice little soundtrack for the American English release. I actually like Warner Brothers cut of Seven Blows of the Dragon, and I hope one day before I die, they'll release it on Blu-ray because it's not. You could get the original Seven Blows of the Dragon from Shaw Brothers on Blu-ray and everything, but not the Warner Brothers version. The Warner Brothers version has been cut to make it like an 88-minute film when the original film was like an hour and 45 minutes or something like that. It's got different sound effects. It's got different music and different dubbing because it's dubbed in English. And it's great. It's really great as a kung fu film, Seven Blows of the Dragon, the American Warner Brothers release of it. I got it on VHS, but I don't have it on DVD or anything. And I hope that they one day release that because that they did a good job on Seven Blows of the Dragon.
Yes, sir. And this movie, like you talked about earlier, it was really successful in America at the box office. This is one of the movies that they say started the wave of, like Stormy talked about, kung fu films. April 28th, 1972. It did 10 million. I gotta see what 10 million was back in 72. But that's good. That's very good. They didn't tell me the budget. Normally we like to get the budget on this show when we talk about movies and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. But I didn't get the budget, but I'm pretty sure it made well past the budget. Was received very well over here in the US, and it came out a few months before Fist of Fury.
Yep.
Few months before Fist of Fury. But yeah, Storm, man. This was a good episode, man. I appreciate you coming on. It was fun talking some kung fu with you. We had a little laughs. Uh uh I liked being able to ask you questions about the scene. We normally do it that type of style on my show, and
Mm-hmm.
your interpretation of some of the scenes and things like that. So appreciate the opportunity that presented itself to do that, and appreciate you being on the show, brother. Appreciate it. You
Hey,
got any?
thank you for having me. I really enjoyed this. It was a lot of fun. Gave me a chance to reminisce on a lot regarding this film. Uh, I was able to share a few tidbits about some things that I'm aware of due to just me being a little long in the tooth, being around, and it's a guilty pleasure of myself. I love kung fu films. Uh, my in my personal collection, I probably have maybe over 1,500 titles or something. Man, I stopped counting a long time ago. It may be even more than that, but I just love these films. I really do. And anytime you want to talk about films like this, I am down for it because the knowledge is a terrible thing to waste. You know, I could share what has impacted me and impart it on someone else, and you guys pick it up and keep it going.
Yes, sir.
And it's a heck of a genre, man. And it also has produced subgenres because even though you could have the basic sword films, the hand to hand films, then you could get into the animal style films, then you could get into the Shaolin films, the Wu Tang films, then you could get into uh the comedies, and then the horror films, and it's like they have subgenre. It's like it started out like this, and next thing you know, there's a tree. You know, it's like wow. It's just been like what I've started watching act and
What?
chat. And I didn't watch them when they were in their inceptions, but I have since picked up the the box set and everything. The Mr. Vampire films.
Mm.
Those are great kung fu horror comedy films, and a lot of them are starring martial artists and actors that you're familiar with, that you've seen them. Lam Ching Ying, who was a co-star in some of Bruce Lee's films, if you saw if you saw The Prodigal Son with Yuen Biao, he's the guy that plays the teacher that teaches at the opera troupe, you know, and he acts feminine in there. But that's Lam Ching Ying. He was a very good Hong Kong stunt man and a good friend of Bruce Lee's that wanted to come to America with Bruce Lee and be a part of the. Bruce was going to form his own stunt team in Hollywood
Mm-hmm.
if he hadn't passed away, and Lam Ching Ying was going to head up that stunt team. But the Mr. Vampire film, they made four of them. There are four films, and they're very entertaining, man. Very engaging. Great action, great comedy. And I started getting into those. I picked up the box set a few months ago and just been enjoying that. So, like I said, this genre is a heck of a genre, man.
Yes, sir. And like I said, if there's ever a movie, if as long as I could get my hands on it and watch it, if you need me ever on your side, and if you want to talk some kung fu films, I got no problem with that. One of my favorite ones is probably Fearless. I love that movie, man. I could watch that over and over. I'm a big Jet Li guy and Jackie Chan. That's probably because of my bracket. I really followed those two guys.
Yeah,
Especially
Fearless was well done. It was well done.
it was, and even the storyline and everything. It was powerful. It was powerful. So appreciate you again, brother. Um uh Hopefully we could do this again, whether it's on your side or mine. Shout out to the chat for participating. We can't do this without y'all. And yeah, man, I'll be back tomorrow with another live, man. I'll be posting it later today. We'll do our regular show on Sundays, and we're gonna get out of here. Peace, everybody. Salute to the LDBC, the usual suspects, and the full berserkers, man. Y'all take care of yourselves, and we out of here.